Shabbat Shalom. What a beautiful Shabbat tonight. We are in a time of great distress. Many of us feel a sense of deep foreboding about the coming days. Between the immediate threat of an expanded war in Israel and the constant barrage of worldwide anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, we find ourselves in a particularly anxious time. We have a lot to fear. And fear itself is a taskmaster. Fear acts on our nervous system and frightens us into acting impulsively. Sometimes this is for the good, like when fear compels us to jump out of the way of oncoming traffic. But sometimes this is for the bad, like when fear clouds our judgment, and in a moment of trepidation, we are not able to properly see what is before us. In moments of fear, we can find ourselves making poor choices, going the wrong way, and tuning into the wrong signals. When the Israelites are about to enter the Promised Land, Moses sends 12 scouts to enter first and report back on what they see. When the scouts return, most of them are disheartened and downtrodden. They tell Moses that yes, as they had been promised, the land is fertile, beautiful, filled with milk and honey. As proof, they brought with them a single cluster of grapes that was so enormous and robust, it had to be carried on a large frame by 2 scouts. But the scouts realized that people were living in the land and that the Israelites would need to fight them. The scouts immediately felt defeated. They said, "We cannot go against these people. They are giants, and we are but grasshoppers." Of all things to call themselves, they chose the image of a grasshopper, a vulnerable creature that children make a sport of catching. We can find ourselves feeling just like grasshoppers in the face of problems that seem immense, like grasshoppers jumping from one crisis right into another. The psalmist teaches us, fear not, hope in God. Chazak v'ya'ametz libecha. Be strong and of good courage. And Rabbi Nachman of Breslov gave us these words that we often sing together. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od. That's it. The whole world is a very narrow bridge. But the most important thing is to not be afraid. These 2 texts give us a Jewish lens on how to get through fearful times. First, fear not, hope in God. Chazak v'ametz libecha. Be strong and of good courage. The psalmist offers these words right after describing mortal threats, military enemies, personal grief, and a fear of abandonment by God. And yet, in the face of all of these challenges, the psalmist insists that we have reason to still be hopeful, that we have resilience. The psalmist writes, Chazak v'ya'amatz libecha, be strong and of moral courage. Ametz libecha, moral courage, is literally translated as having strength of heart, having strength tempered by compassion. The best way to feel stronger may actually be in helping another person. We can draw strength from one another and know that we are not alone. We read in the Talmud that separate reeds are weak and easily broken, but bound together, they are strong and hard to tear apart. Fear feeds on isolation. 2, Nachman of Breslau reminds us, Kol ha'olam kulo. Life always has challenges. We have been through many harrowing and difficult times, but we always find the narrow passage through them. We walk one foot in front of the other and make our way through the chaos, hate, and destruction to get to the other side, and we will again. Joshua went with the spies into the land, but when he came back, his story was different from almost all of the other spies. He too said, "This is a land filled with milk and honey." But unlike the others, he insisted we should go forth. And it was Joshua who God chose as Moses' successor and who led the people into the promised land. God said to Moses, "Go up to the summit of Pisgah and gaze about to the west, the north, the south, and the east. Look at it well, for you shall not go across yonder Jordan." Give Joshua his instructions and imbue him with strength and courage, for he shall go across at the head of these people, and he shall allot to them the land. And then Moses called Joshua and said to him in the sight of all of Israel, "Chazak v'ya'ametz, be strong and of good courage." Joshua led the people into the land, and from that moment they had to fight to keep the land. He had to carry on despite being overwhelmed by enemies who wanted to rid themselves of the Israelites. He had to hold hope, belief, and faith in his heart so that he could persevere with courage and strength. This ancient message is carried from generation to generation to our very day, to this very moment. Our texts are particularly resonant in these challenging days and can be a source of strength that we need. They remind us that we are strong. We can rely on one another. We're not alone, and that we have come through the narrowest of passages before, and we will again. Chazak v'ya'ametz. Let us be strong. Let us be courageous of heart.